Let's bring in Chief Congressional Correspondent Chad Pergram and get his thoughts on this as well this afternoon. It was a shocking death, shocking news over the weekend. 71 years old, Senator Graham succumbed to what looks like a heart condition. Chad, but your thoughts as we watch these reflections on the floor.
Well, such a heavy day here in the Senate. I thought it was rather striking with Senator Thune, his voice kind of cracking at the very end of his speech there. Also, the words of Barry Black, the Senate chaplain, who's always very poignant at these moments, where he talked about, he said, Lord, inspire us to value service over self-interest and compassion over division, kind of in the name of Lindsey Graham. And, of course, Senator Thune, the majority leader there, saying that the halls of the Senate already feel empty without him. And I think a lot of senators on both sides of the aisle feel that today. You know, in addition to the tribute inside the Senate chamber there, where they've draped the desk with the black cloth and put the white roses there, there were a lot of staffers today and people who just came in off the street, dropping off tributes and flowers and cards outside the office of Senator Graham. This is going to be a very sad time here in the Capitol. I've heard some chatter about maybe they might try to see if he could lie in state inside the Senate chamber or maybe in the Capitol Rotunda. You know, that's something they do for legendary, statesmen, Harry Reid, Bob Dole, Daniel Inouye. Those are some of the most recent senators who've done that. This is the third senator to die in office in recent years. The others were his good friend, John McCain, in 2018. And also Dianne Feinstein from California just a couple of years ago. In the next, 45 minutes to an hour here, we're probably going to start to see other tributes on the Senate floor. We've not heard yet from the Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer. In fact, he had not even put out a statement after the death of Senator Graham. That struck some people as a little bit odd. We'll see if he makes some comments now. It's usually pretty customary for the majority and minority leaders to make some comments on the floor shortly after the Senate comes in for the first time, for the week. And this is the first time they've been in since Graham died the other night, and for the first time in a week and a half before the Independence Day break. The other news that we're going to have here in the next, 45 minutes or so, Henry McMaster, the governor of South Carolina, he is going to announce his interim pick, a placeholder for this seat. We'll know that soon.
Indeed. And there's a lot of discussion about who that might be, Chad. But obviously, Lindsey Graham's loss leaves a very large hole in the Senate. And as you pointed out, Leader Thune saying that it is a quieter place and that an empty place without Senator Lindsey Graham. And I just think about all the times, Chad, that you were chasing him in those lower tunnels. And really, work was his life. I mean, he loved to have fun. He loved to play golf. He played with the president quite a bit. But when you spoke with him, he was always talking about Ukraine. He was talking about China. He was talking about Israel. He was talking about his vision for a dynamic that could create peace in these places that he felt so strongly about, Chad.
Yeah, he was a policy-driven person, and I think that's why he was able to have these good relationships on the other side of the aisle. I mean, I was struck by the remarks of Richard Blumenthal, the Democratic senator from Connecticut, earlier today, who had been overseas with Lindsey Graham, and they'd worked out this deal on this Russia sanctions bill. It's not 100% sure that that's going to come to the floor, but Senator Blumenthal was almost ebullient. The fact that they had worked this out finally, that bill has been frozen for months. He said that, Senator Graham told him, his words, it was a big effing deal that they were going to get this done. And Senator Blumenthal said that they thought it would be a nice tribute to Lindsey Graham if they were able to advance that bill across the floor sometime in the next few days.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt Senator Graham would want there to be some action taken in this mourning period that would move the ball forward on things that he felt extremely strongly about, and that was one of them. He wanted Russia to be punished for the invasion of Ukraine, and he believed that, in a future where Russia would not be so dominant and so domineering to its neighbors alongside it.
Yeah, I think that's important to, just his interest in that issue, the fact that he was able to get the president's ear on that issue. And I want to come back to, Lindsey Graham and sort of the historical context of him. He came to Congress in 1995. He was part of that class, that historic class that flipped the House in 1994-95, and then was an impeachment manager in President Clinton's impeachment trial. And he was the last. Now we have Senator Wicker, the last member of Congress, still from that historic class from 1994.
Absolutely. Chad Pergram, thank you very much. We'll continue to cover the remembrances of Senator Lindsey Graham. Shocking to have that sink in today as you see the white flowers on John Calhoun's desk, which he inhabited for many years. Thank you very much, Chad.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.